Hey, Steve Zalunardo here with RE/MAX Experts, Zalunardo Associates. Happy Monday morning. Just a real quick update in the current market. Before that, obviously, today is Memorial Day and Veterans Day, November 11th. We owe all our freedoms to the men and women that served for not only Canada but also the U.S. And take a moment today at 11 a.m. to pay your respects. 1 minute that we usually do yearly. That's pretty much it. So we'll move on to real estate right now. Currently, we are current units right now. Again, we're doing the metrics a little bit different. Any way you look at it, what we did is because we're doing T minus like infinity, it was bringing up an additional 800 to 1,200 units that we couldn't find on MLS. So we've kind of reduced it to T minus 180 days. So what that does is this gives us whatever's currently on the market in the 180 day period rather, because the other ones just we can't find it. So I don't know if it's just a glitch with the system. But anyway, brings down inventory down to 24,269 units. Again, I looked at the way we were doing it in the past in the last couple of weeks. Remember, we've just switched over to a matrix system, so this is obviously why we're trying to fine-tune what we're doing here. It still went down significantly, about 800 units from last week. But let's start fresh and then report this week's inventory, which is 24,269 units. And the big news is the jump in sales. We're at 926 sales, and we felt that as a small business, obviously we're getting a lot of phone calls. Clients want to sell their properties. We're submitting offers. We did, I think, 3 deals last week. We got a few with few deals on the table now with the tribute community. We're just kind of finagling back and forth, trying to make a deal work between the builder and the buyers now. And that's pretty much it. I think just going forward, I think the optimism right now, you're starting to see both sides of the border with obviously a new administration coming into effect in January. You're starting to see already wars going to start to be fizzled out, which is great. Obviously, that gives us less divisiveness in the world, and then also puts more focus on what's important now, and that's obviously economy and safety on both sides of the border, which is good. And what that's doing now is going to bring back the economy into a further place. We're starting to see rates drop a little bit right now, and then if they start adjusting the interest rates further down, hopefully by next year, as President Trump-elect said, he's going to bring the energy costs down by half, which is great. Obviously, that puts more money in people's pocket. That means they're going to be spending more money. That's why I've always, and again, that's going to be both sides of the border. You're going to see a little bit of a rebound even in Canada. But I think ultimately, even here with real estate in Florida, be cautious because everyone's waiting for this bottom lull period to buy in. Don't wait too long. Again, I think we're on as Blackstone said, an upcycle. So just be cautious there and watch what's going on. Clearly, we're fully invested in the real estate market again, which is great. That's it. I just a quick conversation with clients that own rental properties. Again, mom and pop rentals. It's like everybody I speak to right now does not want to own rental properties, specifically in Ontario. They have no. It's always, I don't know. They've lost total mojo with that. They just want to sell, cash out the money, and put into some other type of mutual fund. And this is basically, if you last week I did a very long video Monday with Steve and going through how the government's promoting affordable housing and allocating a ton of cash towards that, and that's obviously towards like a renter society rather than a asset owned ownership for the future. Just remember, like, a lot of our money is always tied up into real estate. Obviously, the general public, I'm part of the general public, so ultimately you have a lot of your money tied up into real estate. If it's devalued or messed with, I mean, you're losing your future wealth and also your security for the future. So just be cautious. Clearly, going forward, hopefully we can everything kind of chimes down. We start getting into better rates. The only thing that fearful with the Canadian market, to be honest, is just all the rules and regulations against landlords. This is another reason why we shifted money into the U.S. rather, because specifically in Florida, we don't have rent control. So now, let's say we've charged our tenant rather $2,500 this year. As of next year, we can jack it up to whatever the inflation is. So if it's costing us an extra $200, $300, $400 a month to carry the property, we can adjust the rate to that or adjust it to current. Even though maybe the expenses didn't go higher, but the market's gone higher, 10, 15, 20%, we can attach that to the rent for next year and always increase it what we feel is necessary. Clearly, you don't want to burn out the tenant and you want them there for a long period, but also With the eviction laws here, they're so robust. Literally, from day one to like out of the property is going to be literally 21 days. I believe it's a 3-week process, and it's even written in the bill that the tenant, if not did not move out willingly, it will be physically removed out of the property, which is always great standards for a landlord. I mean, everything's on the risk for us. Clearly, we're not doing any harm, but if you're not paying and we're stuck paying the mortgage, it's best to get them out as fast as possible and replenish it with new tenants. Also, these squatting laws, as housing becomes more affordable and people start becoming more, let's say homeless or no place to go, you'll see like in Europe, there's a lot of squatting. Tenant, you got a tenant that goes in there, pays 1 month, stops paying, you can't get them out, and then ultimately they start squatting in the property and you can't get them out because that's just the way Europe's run, and Canada's going in that direction. Difference is here, if there's somebody that squats in your property, let's just say that the house is vacant, and especially because we got a lot of secondary property ownership down here, if it's vacant and it's going to be someone just occupies the property, like a squatter, that's a felony 2 offense. So that's literally 15 years in prison. There's also the other scam artists. I know in Toronto we had a lot of this where people were selling, like criminals were selling leases that they didn't even own the property. So you give a tenant would give you your first and last month on 123 Main Street, and then 123 Main Street's owned by somebody else. They get there and there's obviously not their property. Now they're defunded. Or let's just say property's vacant, someone puts a fake lease together, puts them in that property and collecting that rent. That's a felony 1 offense here in the US, which is 30 years in prison. Why I say that, that's obviously security for ownership. If you're putting all your life savings into real estate, you want to make sure the government's behind you to protect it for you. That's pretty much it, guys. Have an amazing day. We'll talk soon.